Dobar dan I dobrodošli. Kao što znate, mene već poznajete, moje ime. Okay,
Holy hell. That sounded like a good cocktail. I don't know what you said there, but you're probably saying how good looking guy is, right?
Of course. He just is shaved and has a haircut for us and everything.
That's it. 100%.
I love you and that I'm happy to have you with me here. So
beautiful, thank you. And you know, the lovely thing is I never hear you speaking in your native language, Petra, so it's really lovely to hear. So I just assumed because you were smiling it was all nice things about us, so I'm happy with that.
I'll leave you in that impression. Yeah. Now you won't ever make fun of my English when we'll be working together, right, Matt?
Never. I never do.
Never.
No. So yeah, did you share with everybody what we do and how we come together?
I just said that we are doing work together. So yeah, we can dive into it a little bit more deeper. Matt, you can say a few words about it.
Oh, well, I just, you know, we've created a business together called Live and Flow, where we're running retreats. We've had 5 sold out retreats at this point. And with the way the world has shifted, we've up-leveled our online presence and doing a whole bunch of new courses and things around that. We're just really excited to see where things go, I think. So we're going to talk about flow today, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, big time. That's why we're here.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, we always think it's a nice place to start, and obviously for people that we're meeting, the viewers for the first time, hello. And what we like to do when we ever run a webinar or a conversation like this is that we actually like to introduce each other, just to share 2 minutes each. So instead of me introducing myself, I thought I would start with Matt and introduce Mr. Matt Omo there. As you can see behind him, he has this incredible looking gong, which I've experienced firsthand, and it is probably the most powerful instrument I've ever experienced, which is amazing. And just to introduce Matt, I know Matt's been working with sound now for probably close to 17 years. Would that be correct, Matt? I'm working with people and transformation. And I got to experience Matt's work firsthand, probably about 7-8 years ago. And I was absolutely blown away by the work that he does. And from that, we've become good friends and ended up working together, and working alongside Matt has been an incredible journey for myself too. So yeah, I'd love to introduce Petra as well, but I'm not going to, because I have so many amazing things to say about Petra as well. But I will pass the baton to Matt. And yeah,
you sure you could run the whole little session here, mate. Like, just keep talking. So thanks for that. And I'll introduce Petra, which is the easy part, because she's the most beautiful out of all of us. So there's only good things to say about Petra. And it's not just this, you know, external beauty that you see in front of you. It's that she's also got this huge heart, and all of her work comes straight from the heart, and you can't help but drop into a heart coherence or a heart opening when you start to work with this amazing woman. So it's just been an honor to get to know her over the last couple of years, and to really work hand in hand with some of the magic that she weaves through her deep meditations and NLP and hypnotherapy, and you name it. She's got it under her belt, I reckon. So that's Petra. It's just an honor to work with you, Petra.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for these beautiful words. Yeah, I always have goosebumps when we do this introduction. And let me say a few words about Guy. Guy is just as amazing as the two of us are as well. I mean, Guy's the guy that got us together, that trusted his heart and said, okay, we're going to work together, and we have to join our forces and share our gifts with the world. And that's the beauty of Guy, because he follows his heart, which doesn't mean that it's always easy. And I think it's a great introduction to what we're going to talk about today, because Guy was a successful businessman running a big company, but he wasn't happy. And then he decided to follow his heart and do what we're doing now, which wasn't an easy decision, but it was the best decision, one of the best decisions of his life. So I'm more than honored to have the opportunity to work with you, Guy. And I didn't mention your amazing podcast with the amazing people, top, how do we say in English? Top, what do we say?
Leaders, say maybe the leaders in the industry.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, people you have on your podcast, it's just blows my mind week after week.
Mm.
Their stories and the knowledge they share with us. So thank you for following your heart and putting all three of us together. That's why we're here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the kind words. And well, let's get into it. We're here to discuss flow, and on the top of the mind is, well, what is flow to you? Who would like to start? Matt. I'm going to throw it over to you first, Matt. What is flow? I love doing this.
I'd feel left out if you didn't do it. Every time we have a session like this, you always throw a question right in my lap, don't you?
I can sit back.
Fantastic. Yeah. So that, I mean, that is the question of the moment, isn't it? What is flow? And you know, usually what I think of when I hear flow is I think of my great aunt. Flow. No, I'm just joking. No, when I think of flow, it's like that. It's a flow. It's a movement. It's like a river flowing downstream. And to me, that's what life is. Life is, you know, it's got a rhythm. It's got a beat to it, and it moves. And that when we live in flow, what we're doing is we're aligning ourselves to that momentum of evolution, of unfoldment, of life that is always breathing through us, that's always beating in our hearts, that's wanting to constantly flow and just move. And so our lives then can become that. And when we live in flow, we are in a constant progression of evolvement, of opening, of unfoldment, of growth, of inspiration, of fulfillment. You know, all these things that we strive to embrace is what is embodying a life of flow. So that's kind of my overview of what I think of when I think of what is flow. Petra, what do you think?
Yeah, and you know, when you were saying about the stream or the river, the flow, I had a vision of the river and the, you know, little stones and obstacles. It's, for me, it's like flowing despite the obstacles and seeing every obstacle as a challenge instead of a problem or an issue. And, you know, using techniques and tools that help us to transform those obstacles into challenges and to look at life as a play as much as we can, which I'm the first one that can say that it was extremely hard for me because I was raised up to take life really seriously, you know, so life is no play for me. It wasn't. But especially, you know, working with you guys for the last few years, it helped me really shift into playfulness and lightness and enjoying life. So yeah, what would you guys say?
Well, to add on to that, and then coming from that enjoyment, we find flow, we find the moments more. I think for me, on my own journey, there's been so many moments that have passed me by because I'm so caught up in striving for something that's beyond myself. And sometimes I felt like I'm chasing happiness, or I'm chasing to find my purpose. And there's all these things. And going back to what both of you just said, even, you know, with finding the rhythm of life and flowing through the river and meeting your obstacles, to me, there's almost, for me, it's about coming back to myself and a way of being, not just from the mind, but a state of being. And from that state of being, the essence of who I am wants to come through. And the more I connect to that essence of who I am, the truth of me, if you like, without the stress, without the things, whatever I've told myself and all the difficulties that I might arise from my own sort of way of thinking, I find that that's where the rhythm starts to come in, and that's where the flow starts to come from. And then I realize I can be my purpose. I can be happy, and I'm not striving beyond it. And then from that, life tends to flow more from it. So that's what I kind of always like to remind myself and lean into, and try not to let the moments slip me by as much as they can do. And we're so fixated on the external things all the time, you know? Yeah. So that's probably a great place to start. And then the next thing is like, if that's what we look at, what is flow, well, why do we want that?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the key question. It's this idealistic thing, isn't it, to want to live in flow or have this concept of what flow is, but what is the driving force behind that? Why are we so fixated on this the sense of flow in our lives? And I think it comes down to wanting to be happy, you know, wanting to be fulfilled. wanting to live life to the fullest, don't you think?
Very much
Absolutely.
so. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But what I would add to that is that it's quite often it's hard to be happiness if we're constantly striving for something outside ourselves to fulfill a need and happiness within us.
Yeah.
And you know, it's fascinating. I've got a couple of bullet points here that I think we should really touch on. And I know, Petra, you know, when we were having this conversation a couple of days ago, it was incredible what came out of it. But the fact that there was a great big study in Harvard. I think was it Harvard that did the study?
Yeah, the Harvard study, yeah.
And there's many years. I've got the stats. I won't bore you with the stats so much, but they spent a lot of millions of dollars researching, working with a lot of people over a huge spectrum of time. I think I can't even decades of people finding out, well, what is the key to happiness?
Mm.
And the number one result was connection. And then we started to dissect. So I thought, Petra, maybe you want to speak to connection a little bit, because what unearths from that, I think, is so valuable.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a moment that it really got so clear when we had this conversation a few days ago that through the work we do, we actually become connected with ourselves, with the community that we create, whether on our live events or online events as well. And connection to the source, to God. And I think that connection, if we have all the three components together, it's just that's it. If we are connected to ourselves, right, to our hearts, we live a true purpose. We live from the heart every day. If we have the sense of connection with people that love us and that we love, and if we feel connected to the divine and guided and loved, what do we need, right?
It's all within us. Why do you think, though, and it's human nature, and I've been guilty of this as much as the next person, we deny ourselves that connection because we get into these states, and sometimes we get into these disabilitating states, and if it comes back to the essence of actually reconnecting back to ourselves, reconnecting to people within our lives, and actually being aware and reconnecting, there's a source energy as well that's tangible.
Because we come here to learn, right? I mean, living on earth is being in a school, and we come to learn certain lessons, and we wouldn't be able to learn it unless we would have this drive to find the connection with ourselves. If we wouldn't have the drive to get into various relationships with people in order to learn lessons, and also to remember that we are actually always not connected to divine, we are divine. But that's the beauty of the life, to be, you know, evolving and figuring it out along the way.
Growth
Right?
culture. Yeah. Have you got anything to add to that, Matt?
No, not at the moment. I think you're hitting it on the head there.
Yeah. And then from that, so then, okay, so what we've discussed and broken down in the past as well is then, well, having a framework around that, because it's all well and good to say, okay, we need to connect to our heart. We need to connect to source energy. We need to connect to others. But then I guess it comes down to, well, how do we do that? What are the ways we're going to look at that? So.
And then Mr. Omo came with a great structure. And we fell in love with 4 pillars. You did, yeah. You had
I think, I think we all came up with it. I don't think it was just my doing.
Now we can't give Matt all the compliments, Petra. Come on.
That's it. My head won't fit on this monitor. We gotta squeeze it down.
He'll be using his head as on the gong tonight when we do the sound session.
That's it. No, I think it is a great model, and the reason, like, what we've basically done is broken down the construct of living in flow into a 4-stage process, or 4 pillars. They don't really kind of, it's not this one, then this one, then this one. It's like they all work in collaboration to support one another. And I think the crux of it is that, you know, from my experience and my journey, I've done lots of different types of work and modalities, and learned different techniques and things, and a large majority of it was separate from my life, in that I would go through processes or practices, and then it's like, okay, this is in this little bubble of my spiritual personal development kind of work, and then there's my life, which is a lot of my life has been upside down and chaotic, and you know, not as I had planned. And so it's like, how do I actually implement this into my life was the critical component. And I think a lot of work misses that construct of that we're actually in physical bodies for a reason. You know, it's not this woo-woo out of this world kind of pursuit. It's actually bringing that expanse, that the wine that you speak of, divine,
Fine.
Petra, back in to our lives and our everyday moments. And then if the ultimate progression then is that if we can live from a consciously aware state, a meditative state in each moment with our eyes open, right, Guy?
Yeah, I love it. No, I won't interrupt. Please keep going. But
You can. I was just gonna lean.
It just reminded me of, I think I've said it somewhere before, but a journalist was interviewing me last year or the year before, and he said, look, this is my bugbear about meditation. And I was like, oh, what's that? And he said, I know people that meditate, and I still don't like them as a person. They're not very nice.
That's it. Yeah.
And I laugh because I said, yeah, you know, it's not like, I said, it's because it's what we do with our eyes open during the day is the true act of meditation, right?
Exactly.
And just having a practice and then going back to our old self isn't the answer, expecting that to fix it.
No, it's kind of ironic. The most unconscious people I've met are in conscious communities. So it's kind of an oxymoron
Yeah,
there.
because it's such a great escape, you know. There's
100%.
It's a huge trap if you have you know, some issues and challenges in your life, and then you think, okay, I might start meditating or doing this practice or that practice, and everything will work out. No, it won't. If you don't take care of it in your everyday life, nothing will, you know, change, because you cannot escape from your life. We all came here for a reason. We came to experience being in our bodies, living these lives, and we have to do the work. And work is, of course, in meditation, and, you know, getting all the downloads and information, and being wiser and more aware. But then we really have to face the challenges that we have, right? And again,
Absolutely.
That's
And
it.
well, let's go back to the 4 pillars.
I was just thinking that, yeah, because that's it. That's why the four pillars have come into being for through our work, is because we were seeing that a lot. And so, you know, they break down to, you've got awareness is the first quadrant, then you've got acceptance being the second quadrant, feeding into intention, and then action. You know, and if you look at those four components together create a solid foundation then for us to start to, one, gain more awareness, the first quadrant, open into and allowing into that flow, and then intentionally create action moving forward from a heart-centered place. And you know, we go well into depth into it in our retreats and our deeper work, but the whole construct of just sitting with that idea of awareness first, acceptance, intention, and action really start to get the gears turning, and really start to open you up then to, how do I first gain a greater perspective of who I am internally, what's going on in my life externally, and then how do I embrace the fullness of it. It's like a self-loving thing, and that acceptance. If you can accept what is, then you're allowing life to move through you instead of fighting your way through life. And then from that space of awareness and acceptance, you've got some momentum then to drop into an intention, which basically becomes the focal point of, like we talked about that field of light bulbs. It's like we have this current of life wanting to move through us, and our lives become this field of different light bulbs, and it can be, you know, positive things or negative things that we're shining light on, putting the charge through to create an energy, to create an experience. And the question is, what do you want to illuminate in your life? And is it heart-focused stuff from an intention of heartful focus, or is it a restrictive, you know, depressive kind of space? And then take action, make movement, do things in your life to create an impact. Yeah. So that's the overview of it, I reckon.
Totally. And what came to mind then that I think about often as I embody those pillars is that I know, I'm sure everyone watching this as well would agree, we're not the same person we were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. If we look back, like we're looking back, be able to look back at ourselves with a greater level of awareness to the person we probably were back then, because we're in the school of life, right? We're growing, we're continually, getting pushed and prodded and stretched. So growth comes from that as we live and experience life. And for me, I know 5 years from now, I'm going to be at a greater level of awareness to where I am now, and having the humility to realize that. But then there's things in my life that I need to deal with and begin to accept and be able to move through. So when I get to that 5 years from now, I know how to move through that. And then it's bringing an intention and an action behind that as life continues to change and evolve, because life is changing and continually evolving, right? And we don't want to resist the change. So in my mind, I'm like, well, how can I condense that time down and start to bring that acceptance in more now, bring in that awareness more now, bring in that intention and action more now, as opposed to continually just waiting and getting pushed around and allowing life to knock us around, as opposed to gaining a greater level of awareness with all those tools, and then being able to hold a resilience and empowerment within myself, like you said, Matt, and then being able to direct that into what do I want to illuminate in my life? Where do I want to actually direct myself moving forward? And that's how I kind of see that play out in myself. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Petra, would you like to add anything before we wrap up the conversation?
Nothing left to add.
No, okay. Just hearing all that's exciting. Hey, it's like, it just inspires me when we start talking about this stuff. I just love it.
I'm going to ask you a question, like I ask everyone on my podcast.
Here
is
he
that
goes,
okay?
Matt, again. Yeah.
This is unrehearsed. This is great.
You got to go to Petra first, because I got
I'll go to
dropped
Petra
the first question before.
And all it is I ask everyone at the end of my podcast, with everything we've covered today, is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners to ponder on?
Yeah, to ponder on awareness, acceptance, intention, and action. Actually, that's when I was listening to you now, what really came to me is like, yes, I've been trying to live this way, like consciously in last, I don't know how many years, but since we really broke it down in those 4 steps or 4 parts, it's so much easier to live your life even more consciously, having the awareness, acceptance, intention, and action. So I'm really grateful for all this time that we spent together in our my early morning meetings with you, and just having those conversations, because it really brings a whole new light on my life, and that we can bring it to other people as well.
Beautiful.
So yeah, start with the awareness. If that would be the message for our audience, for me, it's awareness, really, because without awareness, we don't know where we need to go or anything, what we need to do.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Matt, I survived my question. Now you can.
No, I was trying to think of what to say, but there's a song that keeps repeating in my head, and it reminds me. It's a song that Wayne Dyer would refer to at times. He said it's got the meaning of life in it, and it's row, row, row your boat. And he would break it down, and he would say, you listen to the lyrics, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 life is but a dream, right? And if you really look at those words, like in there is the secret to life. And I think it's so true. It's like, gently, be gentle, be kind to yourself as you're rowing downstream, not upstream. And, merrily, merrily, have some freaking fun, lighten up. We take life so seriously that we miss it. And then we get out and we're like, dang, I should have had a bit more fun in those short moments that I was there. And life really is just a dream. It's what you want to focus on. What do you want to vision? What do you want to create? So that to me, row your boat.
Look at that. Amazing, guys. Amazing.
What about you, mate? You gonna wrap it up here with some profound wisdom from Guy Lawrence podcast?
I don't know if I can come in after what you two have just shared. The thing that was turning for me is that the biggest lessons I've learned is that you got to get in the game. You've really got to take action, and whether you fail, get it right, get it wrong, have fun, absolute, you know, all of this, but you can't sit on the sidelines. And I always remember hearing, I know a lot of great philosophers, they constantly absorbing the work, they're reading books, they're going from one workshop to the next, and they just constantly take it. But you actually have to get in there, action it, and do it. And that for me has been the greatest teacher for me, is by having a framework, but action in the framework and playing the game of life, and, you know, being in it. So that's my last pondering words of wisdom.
That was critical. That was a critical component. You were going to back out of that. Got to be in it.
Beautiful. Guys, thank you so much. It's always, I love having these conversations, and as always, just a pleasure to talk to you, and hopefully everybody got something out of this today from our conversation as well. So
short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
Beautiful.
For now.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And we can just say goodbye to our audience, right?
Do you want to say it in Croatian again? Is that it?
I can't wait to be live with you, Matt. You're gonna say all this.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it in Croatian. Okay, so dragi ljudi, evo, možete vidjeti kako je meni zabavno raditi svaki dan sa ovo dvoje divnih ljudi, i izrazito sam zahvalna na ovoj prilici da vam mogu približiti naš odnos, naš zajednički rad i način na koji donosimo svjetlo i ljubav u svijet, nas troje zajedno. I hvala vam još jednom što ste bili s nama, i vidimo se nekom prvom prilikom. Doviđenja. And now you can say goodbye as well.
Goodbye.
That's exactly what I said. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.